This is the second informational video for the Berwick Fire Station, Why We Need to Build. In this section, we will look at the 3 locations currently being considered for our new station. Port City Architecture evaluated all 3 sites, giving their feedback on location, emergency response time, frontage and sightlines for entrance and exit, land composition, neighborhood, and additional costs associated. Viewers will see each site as Selectman Chair Tom Wright explains what Port City Architecture noted. We will also utilize information gathered by the Berwick Fire Department on property value areas, call history and response times, along with the areas of projected growth. On May 1st, the Board of Selectmen will be reviewing designs for a new fire station. BCTV hopes the videos created provide residents with a clearer understanding of the information gathered, the process followed, and the outlook for a new station that will be safer, provide firefighters with the necessary tools to do the job, and ensure the timely response to all residents in need. For more information or specific questions, please contact the Fire Chief, Dennis Plant, and/or the Town Manager, Steve Eldridge, at 207-698-1101.
Hello, this is the first site that the town has been considering for the fire station. It's between Pine Hill Mobile Home Park and the water tower at the top of Pine Hill Road. It's approximately 250 feet of road frontage. It's situated between the driveway, north up here, from here, past this fire hydrant, the sight lines here are fairly adequate. The engineers and the architects that we've had look at it have said that, with a little bit of work, we could make the sight lines a little bit better here as far as traffic entering. And then the other boundary is down here. Down here, the other boundary is down here, closer to the Pine Hill Mobile Home Park. As you can see, it's a very busy road. This is in the middle of the afternoon on a weekday, and there's a lot of traffic here. So that's one of the considerations that we'd have to make in order to situate a fire station here. The access onto the property, it comes onto a fairly level spot here that's slightly built up, and that would also give us better sight lines coming down through. This parcel is part of a 30-acre parcel. The owner has offered to sell the town 5 acres for $160,000. The owner also wants access to the rest of his property in the back, so that means we'd have to build an access road into his property that would also serve as the fire station's driveway. As the boundaries come in here and off to this side, you can't see it in the trees, but there's a small private cemetery, and that would restrict access here. So actually, we'd have to put an access road down past the cemetery to where the property pans out and widens out in order to put a building back in there. This is pretty representative of the parcel itself. It's fairly level and flat with a slight slope to the south. It's an old overgrown field, so there's not a lot of really large trees in it. It does border the Pine Hill Mobile Home Park over on this side, And so that would have to be a consideration, and it is surrounded by residential areas on both sides and across the street. And the drainage here looks like it wouldn't be too much of a problem. We'd have to do drainage ditches, obviously, but I don't think there'd be any need for retention ponds or anything like that, but I'm not an engineer either. This is another parcel that's under consideration for a new fire department. It's the old Estabrook School property. We have approximately 5 or 6 acres available to do a building here. It would include tearing the old Estabrook building down. As you can see, the land has some hills and topography that would have to be taken care of. Out behind the old Estabrook School, there is ledge that comes up, so we'd have to be, dealing with that a little bit also. This area is centrally located downtown. Unfortunately, access to the major roads is a problem here, and we'll address that in a minute. Some of the advantages to this parcel is we already have water and sewer here. The other parcels, that would be something that we'd have to add in. Also we have plenty of power here from the power lines and transmission lines close by. As you can see, the land does drop off to the south here. That would have to be taken into consideration. But some of the other advantages here is that we own this property, whereas the other ones we don't. One of the access points to the Estabrook property is off of Logan Street. As you can see, it's a very steep climb from here up to the street, and also Logan is very narrow and all residential. This would have to be an emergency access point, not the main access point. As you can see, the land slopes down away here. This is the Estabrook building. And off to this side, you can see where the ledge comes up out of the ground here and continues down that way. So that would make it so we'd have to deal with that while we're doing construction here. Access to this site is going to be critical. It borders on very busy streets and passes past the apartment buildings there, so that we may probably, if we were considering this, have to put new access points in. This is looking up the parcel back up towards Logan Street, and you can see the back side of the Estabrook School. As I said, from the other side, you can see where the topography and the hills are here. It'd be something that we're going to need to deal with in order to use this. Also, we have to deal with the connection between the Estabrook property and the existing police department. This is the access out to School Street on Route 9. As you can see, it goes past the Bateman apartment buildings. It's very narrow and constricted, also not feasible for big fire trucks to go through. And also we have the front of the police station over here that would need to be taken care of and brought into the plans. This is the access road down to Wilson Street. As you can see, it's a narrow street also. We also have constrictions on both sides with wetland areas. This road is a primary access into the Bateman property for the apartment buildings and into the police station. This is a right-of-way that the town owns from the Estabrook property down to Sullivan Street. It's the walkway that used to be used by the elementary school kids when we went to school here. The town also owns the property off to this side, and one of the things that the engineers and architects have talked to us about is having to put an access road down through here to Sullivan Street to ensure that we have a proper emergency access for the fire trucks. This would be dedicated use for the fire department and would not be a public access. So this is the access area over on Sullivan Street. It goes from the property, goes from the edge of the walkway over there down to this pin over here by the big trees. We have adequate road frontage here to put an access road through, and it is wet back in here, so there would have to be some kind of mitigation to take effect. This is the site on Cemetery Road that's being considered for the fire department. It's a 6-acre site that belongs to the Cemetery Association. They said they'd sell it to the town for a little over $87,000. It's a fairly flat, level property. It goes to just on the other side of this utility pole here, down over the hill several hundred feet. The architects and engineers, when they came out and looked at the site, they decided that this area would be the best for the access onto the road for the department because of the sight lines both down the road over the hill and up this way towards Pine Hill. So this would be the sight line going west towards Pine Hill. As you can see, there's quite a long shot, and if you swing around going this way, you can see that it drops down over the hill, but you can still see quite a ways. This is fairly representative of what the site looks like. It's looking out towards the cemetery and then down around towards Pine Hill. It's fairly level and flat. There are larger trees here, but as far as we can tell, there is no ledge close to the surface here. One of the disadvantages of the Cemetery Road plot is that the nearest water line is down at the end of Cemetery Road next to down by Pine Hill Road, and would have to extend that up. That's approximately a quarter to a third of a mile that would have to extend it, and that would be a cost that would have to incur. The other is the lot is not a rectangular lot. This back boundary goes off at an angle, so that restricts our building down to this end, but the architects assure us that that wouldn't be a big problem.